Okay, so for this part of the interview, I wanted to talk about being on the translation committee for the Book of Mormon from English to Turkish.
Correct.
And tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that, and kind of go into detail about what was involved, how long it took, and how difficult it was.
Sure. Actually, it was a unique event in my life. It started with a dream. And in the dream, I saw that I was going to be needed for something. So it was a unique kind of experience. I had this missionary couple in London, Ontario, and I saw him in my dream. And since I saw him, I went to him and said, "Hey, by the way, I saw you in my dream. And you told me that the church was in need of me." And I said, "It was a strange thing, but what can I do? And I want to follow with the prompting of the Spirit." He said, "I don't know what you mean by it, but I'm going to Salt Lake City next week, and I will check to see what they need from a little old Turkish lady, and I'll get back to you." So when he came back from Salt Lake City, he told me that, strangely enough, they're looking for people who are strong in the gospel to translate the hymns into Turkish, little hymn book.
Oh, okay.
And they were looking for someone who had a musical background, also had the doctrinal background, so he can translate this little compilation of little hymns.
Wow.
Hymn book. So that's how I started.
You fit the bill.
I fit the bill. So after that was done, the Salt Lake City heard of it, and there is another translator, the actual translator. We kind of they put us together, and we became friends, and they said, after passing through certain tests and whatnot, they said, "We would like you to work closely with him." And the process was very different back then than it is now. Back then, nothing was in the computer, and it was through way of mail. So translation today was done.
And so you're on this committee that is dotted all over the world.
Exactly.
Right?
Actual translator in Istanbul.
Okay.
I am in Canada, in Winnipeg. There was another person who's doing the punctuations and whatnots, goes to another person. So there were several people involved.
It's not as simple as emailing it to them.
No, there was no emailing. So the hard copies were traveling all over the world.
Oh, boy.
And then what will happen was that they will give us so many sections of the Book of Mormon, and they will say, "This is the translated version. Please read it, translate it again, and make sure it's doctrinally correct." So I will put my red ink, and we'll go to somebody else. They'll put their blue ink or whatever. It was just going to be rotating. And there is a translation committee in Salt Lake is in charge of this program, the translation program. So the department. So they look after so many languages, and linguists work with these translators to make sure that the uniqueness of the Book of Mormon is preserved in the translations. Yeah. So that's how we did it.
Amazing. Would you run into sometimes?
It took a long time.
How long did it take?
It took years. Probably 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
Wow.
3 times.
Constantly working on it?
Yes, because 2 times we had to start over because some of the personalities of the translators were seeping in.
Oh.
And they will stop, and they will go back to it, and they will be retranslated again. So
oh my goodness.
There is a very unique style to Book of Mormon. Anybody who has not really read it carefully, like each word carefully, wouldn't know that. But there is a big style. It's hard to explain, but that style has to be preserved.
So when you're translating, now just going back to,
Sure.
When you know a little bit about biblical translation, there's 2 different approaches. One is sort of the more literal, where they'll take the original documents and they'll try to match up almost every single word in the order that they appear. Like King James, for example, is very much like that.
Yes.
They'll try to get the words, every single word to be translated. But then they've got other translations other than the King James, where they'll take the meaning, and they'll translate the meaning into an easier to read. It may be awkward sometimes in King James, but at least it's true to every single word. Where just to make it more readable, they have these other translations where they don't take every word literally, but they'll make it the same. What approach is it when it comes to translating
There,
the Book
there
of Mormon?
was a absolute literal translation in the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
Absolutely is preserved. So when I read side by side English and Turkish, they are there. There are, however, words that we needed to be inventing.
Oh, really?
Because it didn't exist.
What's an example of one of those?
I couldn't tell you right now, but there are words. Our very first challenge, for example, came from 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 1.
Okay.
So it says, I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents. What's a goodly parent?
Okay. The word goodly?
Yes. So that's a challenge. It's not a good parent. They're goodly parents. It ended up that
Okay.
they're good in a sense that they raised their children and raised righteous. They were also rich. Because they're goodly parents. They have a lot of goods. So to find a word that's going to describe what it actually means is easier said than done.
For sure. Now, I've never looked at that verse
Exactly.
like that
And it's
before.
only the first sentence.
Wow. So the word, what is the actual word in
Well,
Turkish?
I don't have the Book of Mormon with me right now, but when you put it side by side, we have to find a word that is going to describe both, you know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, most people just say goodly, and the assumption is you know what goodly means. You don't have to define it, but I've never heard it defined that
Exactly,
way before.
yeah. Each word in the Book of Mormon means something.
Yeah.
From smallest word to the largest word, biggest word, it means something.
What about...
and they give you lexicons to help you out.
Do you have to translate the same word the same way every single time? Or
Yes,
does it depend?
you have to have a key developed. Keywords that's used, so you don't make the error of coming with 5 different words describing only one thing.
Okay, one example. I'm just curious.
Sure.
If in the Book of Mormon, there's the word love. There's
Yes.
also the word charity.
Yes, they're 2 different words.
2 different words.
Two different words, yes.
Okay. What would be... Now, in English, there's like love. There's just really one word for love. But I know in Greek, there's so many different words. Is it like that in Turkish? There's many different versions of...
Some words, yes. Love, no. With love, we have, probably 2 or 3 that's defining it. But we don't have too many of them, it's just...
How about things like liahona? Is that...
liahona also had to be translated. But I think they left it as... Certain things we left it as, because we cannot do it any other way. And names as such, proper names, has to be the way it is.
Right.
So.
Would they be pronounced the same way? Like Nephi, or would you say it a different way?
In Turkey, you wouldn't say Nephi, you will say Nefi. Because the language requires to read requires you to read it differently than you would in English. Yeah. For example, Joseph Smith will be Yusuf Smith.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How about Jesus? Is that...
Isa is Jesus.
Isa.
That's right.
I didn't know.
Isa,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. How about Christ?
Well, Christ, as I said, it has to be translated. Each one of them has to be translated. So when we're translating the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and because the translation is backwards, because of the language, it will be İsa Mesih'in son zaman azizleri kilisesi. So it will be, every word has to be there. You can't just come up with one little lump sum.
How about God, the word God?
Okay, the God in the Book of Mormon appears differently at different times, because you have the God, then you have Christ as God, then you have Lord God, your Lord, and you have God together. So we needed to come up with consistent, some kind of a key list to translate it like that. To signify who's doing the speaking.
It depends on which God.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, I'm thinking of... I'm not really familiar with Turkish at all. I'm not even sure where the roots of the language come from. Is it more of a...
Turkish is a language by itself.
So it's not like Latin, it's not like Russian, it's not like...
it's not like that. It's Turkish. So what we have is we have a root word, and then it's an add. You will have a plus something else, plus something else, plus something else. I'll give you an example. let's say the root word is göz, meaning eye. Okay.
Okay.
Gözlük will be eyeglass. Okay.
Okay.
Gözlükçü will be eyeglass maker.
Okay.
Gözlükçülük will be the job category that defines the eyeglass makers.
And is that one word?
One word. So you will start with the root. You can have gözlükçülük coming from that with one little word saying göz, meaning eye, and you add it as you go.
So it's sort of one idea.
Yes.
Is defined by one word.
One word. Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
you
that makes
can
sense.
add more onto it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of neat. You know how there's Turkey is very Muslim, right?
Yes, but full of non-practicing Muslims. They believe in the religion, but they don't practice it.
Now, so I thought that it might have been the language might have been influenced by Islam
Yes,
as well.
yes. 600 years of mingling with many, many different cultures, all in the Middle East, of course. And also our dealings with French, German, and so forth.
Oh boy.
With others. Yes, there are a lot of words in Turkish language that is mingled with, other languages. So,
but there's no like Arabic, for example. Is there similar
No.
things? Okay.
No. We use Arabic words, but our language is Turkish, and there are about 350 million people in the world uses Turkish. Different dialects.
350
million, yeah.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, Turkey, then you have Cyprus, you have Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, all of those.
Those are all Turkish?
Yes,
speaking?
Turkmenistan, yes. But they speak different dialects.
Okay, see, totally unaware of that. I thought they were all sort of speaking versions of Arabic or something, but no, it's all Turkish.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Boy, that's fascinating. Yeah, excuse my ignorance.
No, not
we don't
at all.
learn this.
We learn from each other. I look at Chinese characters and I'm thinking, not in my million year, if I was given life on the earth, I could memorize those characters. But yet you read, you write, you draw with it, and I don't know.
I ask my mom the same question. You know what? I don't read and speak it, but I understand that.
Yeah.
More than 100 different dialects
exactly.
in China, and they don't understand
each other. Exactly, yeah.
But if they want to understand each other, they just write it. And they can all understand the writing.
Exactly,
which blows my mind. I don't know how that works.
Exactly, yeah.
So what are the characters like in...
We use the Latin alphabet.
Okay, so it's a phonetic language.
Phonetic language, yes.
Okay, okay. Is there an older version of Turkish that doesn't use the Latin alphabet?
I'm sure if you go back pre-1900, all the writings will be in Arabic, because that was the government language then.
And it was a phonetic version of Arabic as well?
I think they probably put it into a context of whatever worked for them type of thing. I really don't know, because I cannot interpret all documents. I wouldn't know. I don't speak Arabic. I've never spoken Arabic. I cannot read Arabic. So... I will be lying to you if I saw a piece of document, in Arabic. I would know what it is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. That's fascinating. All right. So take us to. So it took 8 years or
Pretty
so
much,
to finish that, and that when what year was it finished?
I don't exactly remember what year it was finished, because I only got the finished copy in my hand. Because after the translation is finished, it goes to the committee. And they're the ones who deal with the final, steps of it. So
I remember this part now in the book where you say years later you found a Turkish copy of the Book of Mormon in a store, and you're like, "Oh, isn't that nice?"
It was really nice. I got a copy in my hand. Somebody was given to me, but more touching than that was the hymn compilations I found, and it was really very neat. Years and years later,
You have something about not reading your own books, eh?
Yes, I do. I have that challenge.
So right now you're working on the Doctrine and Covenants.
Yes. Again, it's a very slow process. This time it's different because it's all electronic.
You got email. You got internet
emails,
now.
Internet. And
is it a little bit faster now?
A lot faster, but the process is still slow because there is a translator, another translator, two translators working together, and I'm again the content reviewer, Doctrine content reviewer, and I'm also part of the translation committee that makes sure that every word is translated correctly. Yeah.
Is there the fear this time around that You get so far and then you realize, oh, this is sounding too much like the translator.
Yeah. I think with the Doctrine and Covenants, because it's a modern day scripture, the words are not as complicated as the Book of Mormon. So it's easier in that regard.
Yeah.
But we have to come up with a consistency. So if you're using one word for this, you have to use it for everywhere else the same way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another challenge we had was the word wilderness. What does wilderness mean?
Yeah.
What
does it mean?
It could be desert, but it could be also near the waterside, because when they're traveling in the wilderness, but they're also traveling alongside of a river.
So there's no direct translation for wilderness?
Exactly. But we have to come up with one that signifies, that's going to give you the understanding. Wilderness doesn't necessarily mean it's a desert area. There is no trees, no nothing, because we know from Book of Mormon that as they were traveling, they traveled alongside of a river for a long time. They even, in fact, named their rivers, like Lehi.
Yeah.
Named his sons after a river and a plateau and a mountain and
yes, the valley.
Valleys, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious because there's certain parts of the Book of Mormon that are very poetic.
Correct. And you have to keep that.
Does that translate well?
Yes.
Into the Turkish?
Yes, it does, when you work on it.
I'm thinking of Alma 36. That's probably my favorite one.
Okay.
And do you also, like, are you given a heads up, like saying, hey, this is actually poetic, try to keep it, or do you have to...
What you do is you're given the instruction to have the spirit of the book with you. So you have to ask Christ's help. That's his book. So we're going to be asking his help. So before every work or any work, we pray to ask for the inspiration that we will know what to do. When that inspiration comes, you don't go with your intellect, you go with the inspiration. And believe it or not, more times than not, the inspiration is the same for whoever is translating or whoever is working on the content. And it just comes out beautifully on the other end. Yeah. If you trust your intellect, you cannot do it.
Yeah. You have to rely on the Lord. That's
exactly. It's his book, it's his gospel, and he will make it come across to which language or who is going to be reading it. He's aware of it.
Mm-hmm. Do you approach all of the things that you do in that way? You go to the Lord?
Always. Always. For even the littlest thing. In the house, they know, anybody who knows me knows, and especially in my home, I pray for everything. And no matter is too small for prayer.
Yeah. Can you mention some of the callings that you've held in the past?
Sure.
Actually, what calling do you currently hold right now?
I am currently the Gospel Doctrine Teacher in the Word.
Oh, that's the best calling in the world.
I was a primary president, young women's president. I worked in the State Relief Society presidency as a counselor. I worked as a Sunday school teacher. More than anything, I worked as a Sunday school teacher. I served as a Sunday school teacher many, many years. I was a gospel essential teacher for 8 years. And I love teaching. I just love learning and teaching. I could serve that in that calling till the day I die.
So you never got through teacher's college, but you're just a natural-born teacher.
I love the teaching, yes. I love the teaching, yeah.
Amazing. Excellent. All right. Well, Ayse Hitchins, this has been very wonderful. Thank you so much for allowing me to come and talk to you. I think our listeners will really, really enjoy this interview, learn lots from your story. And once again, the book is... One day when you do read it, if you ever do read it, it's good. It's a really good book.
I'm glad it worked out.
You can get, I'll remind our listeners once again, you can get it at Deseret Book. You can get it at Amazon, the audio book as well. And it's just a remarkable story. And we get to know you. We get to know so much about the gospel. It makes you cry because you're sad. It makes you cry because it's so happy. It makes you do all those things. And
thank you.
And just thank you so much. It was wonderful.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I feel that, I'm special, and I believe that I'm special. Everybody's special.
You are, yeah.
One at a time, the Lord puts a spotlight on us. And me coming to the gospel of Jesus Christ, to become part of his discipleship, I thought that the spotlight was on me, and I am ever grateful for that moment in my life, my baptism. I really am grateful. I am grateful for many things, but having been baptized, having been married and sealed in the temple, having my child, those are very, very big blessings in life that I really appreciate.
This has been another episode of Interesting Canadian Mormons. To participate in the discussion for this episode, or to subscribe to the podcast, please visit us at interestingcanadianmormons.com. You can also find us on iTunes. Thanks for listening.